history of Shillong is written not only in textbooks and engraved on plaques, but its significance is visible in the form of age-old structures that have stood the test of time, their foundations as secure as the day they were laid. In this episode of Shillong's iconic structures, we are featuring Dr. H. Gordon Roberts Hospital, which is one of the oldest health institutes in the state and a pioneer in nursing training in Meghalaya. Located in the heart of Jayao locality, which is only a few kilometers away from Mot Pran, the busiest commercial hub in the city, the Dr. H. Gordon Roberts Hospital has been rendering its services since 1922. This hospital, formerly known as the Welsh Mission Hospital, is named after its founder Dr. Hugh Gordon Roberts, a Welsh missionary and medical professional who arrived in Shillong in 1913. It was officially opened to the public on March 25, 1922 by the then Governor of Assam, Sir William Maris. According to Dr. R.A. Hughes, a recipient of the Medal of the Order of the British Empire and former medical superintendent of Roberts Hospital, in October 1913, Dr. and Mrs. H. Gordon Roberts set sail from Liverpool, United Kingdom, to work as medical missionaries in Shillong. On his arrival, Dr. Roberts started work with a small dispensary. In 1914, when World War I broke out, the government asked him to act as a civil surgeon in the Shillong Civil Hospital in addition to his other medical duties. It was during this time that Dr. Roberts prevailed upon the District Committee of Missionaries to recommend that a hospital be built in Jayao on the border of Shillong then. Dr. Roberts began to build the residues of a fund collected to give relief at the time of the Great Earthquake of 1897. The main building was almost complete in 1917. During the entire phase, Dr. Roberts received immense support from Miss Margaret E. Buckley, the first matron of the hospital and the founder of its nursing school. The building was completed with a capital grant from the government of Assam and help from the Friends of the Mission in Wales, who donated over £30,000 for its completion. According to one of the contributors, H. J. Jones, the then Governor-General of India, Lord Mountbatten had penned down a congratulatory note for Roberts Hospital in 1948, which read, "Very much impressed by the good work done by the hospital to alleviate the suffering of the sick people." Similarly, C. Rajagopalachari, the last Governor-General of India, 1949, wrote, "Today I cannot refrain from being melancholy when I see such a popular hospital. The popularity of a hospital is the measure of sickness in the countryside." At a time when scientific and medical interventions were alien to the tribals of Khasi and Jainte Hills, convincing them to get treatment for different kinds of ailments and providing medical care was a gigantic task, but that did not stop the hospital authorities from reaching out to the public both near and far. During the first 20 years, the hospital had 110 beds with satisfactory diagnostic radiological facilities, operating facilities, sterilizing facilities, a steam engine, a generator, and a big boiler to drive the steam engine. Dr. Roberts retired from his active role in the hospital administration in 1942, but continued helping the Young Men's Christian Association in its endeavour to provide facilities for the soldiers who were camped in Shillong until he returned to England in 1945. The hospital, which initially began with 90 beds, now has a strength of 350 beds. At present, the hospital is spread across 14 acres of land, stretching all the way from Jayao Padang to the CRPF camp in Jinkiang, Maulai. Let us take a tour of the hospital and visualize the remnants of the old structure. Yes, most parts of the building are now concrete and a few remaining sections that are still wooden in the structure are the private ward, popularly known as the European ward. Two separate lounges with a cone-shaped ceiling is now used as the nurses' room and the therapy room respectively, the electrical room, the guest house, and the medical superintendent's quarters. Here is a bit of information about the MS quarters. Set amid the busy locality of Jayao and sandwiched in between the Jayao Presbyterian Church on the left and a private residence on the right is this Assam-type structure with high ceiling and double insulated ecra walls, wooden floors, age-old bric-a-brac like the fireplace, the coat and umbrella stand, the doorknobs, cabinets, and a majestic door with a letterbox at the center. Its well-kept lawn is just as splendid as the house, along with the driveway and of course a gazebo. Let us not forget the red chimney, a landmark in Shillong. Some believe that this 147.4-foot structure is the tallest man-made structure in the state. Though its operation was stopped in the late 1990s due to environmental issues, this red chimney continues to remain an eye-catching sight.
Because of its the sentiment that the people is attached to, we still maintain the structure as it is today, and we had also consulted some engineers as to how it can be maintained, whether it's still okay if we go for maintenance, and the engineer has certified also that yes, it is still okay. I mean, there is no threat as such.
Much like the Tate Modern in London and the Nikola Tesla Museum in Belgrade, although not as sophisticated as the two structures, Roberts Hospital is converting parts of the MS quarters into a living museum, showcasing the medical artifacts ranging from the brass OT tables, a Boyle's apparatus with solid steel wheels, vacuum extractor to cutleries and potteries, chairs, tables, and many more. Besides the museum, some of the age-old equipment in the laundry room and electrical room are still in use till date, like a cast iron mangle, a sliding wooden panel to dry clothes, a washing machine, a tub in the laundry room, the electrical panel and steam engine in the electrical room. Lest we forget, the iconic lawn of the hospital located behind the private ward is adorned with flowering plants, fresh-cut grass, and a small concrete bridge. It is definitely an ideal spot to convalesce.
Well, there are so many visitors, especially if you go by the history or rather by the records that are available in the hospital. There are so many dignitaries that have come and gone in the hospital right from the time it was established and in between until date. But the latest one, as you have asked, a question is on the 8th March 2021, last year only, when the Honorable Governor of Meghalaya, Shri Satyapal Malik, inaugurated the first human breast milk bank in the hospital, a project which has been funded by the Rotary Club of Shillong to the hospital.
In the early 1900s, one remarkably considerable windfall came Dr. Roberts' way when the senior Maharani of Gwalior came to Shillong. Dr. Hughes wrote, "This lady had some surgical condition and had been looking for someone to deal with it. The operation was carried out. She recovered well from the operation, but before leaving, made considerable benefits to the hospital." The founder of the automated teller machine, or ATM, John Adrian Shepherd Barron, was born on 23 June 1925 at Dr. H. Gordon Roberts Hospital in Shillong to British parents. Roberts Hospital has its own cemetery at Jayao opposite St. Khasi School near the Waking Ground. The cemetery was allocated for soldiers and outstation patients back in the day. The name of the hospital has been changed many times. Initially, it was called the Khasi Hills Welsh Mission Hospital and then later changed to Khasi Hills Presbyterian Hospital in 1966, which was again changed to the KGP Synod Hospital. It was only recently that the name of the hospital was changed and kept as Dr. H. Gordon Roberts Hospital as a tribute to its founder. For the past few decades, locals generally know the hospital as Robert, with the earths missing from their vocabulary. The hospital has 4 rural health centers, the oldest being the Mauplang RHC set up in 1964. The hospital was handed over to the Trust Association of Synod of the Presbyterian Church of Assam in the Khasi Jaintia Hills and is administered by a committee of the Synod in 1962. At present, the hospital is managed by the Khasi Jaintia Presbyterian Assembly.
Last year in March 2021, we started the first human milk bank in the state of Meghalaya. So a human milk bank is basically a place where we collect human milk, we process the human milk and give it to all our sick newborn babies in the neonatal intensive care unit whose mothers are not able to produce milk. Yeah, so we've also started there's a new unit that we call the Developmental Pediatrics Unit. So this unit is run by a team of professionals. So what we do is we look after, we monitor children with developmental needs, children with special needs. We also follow up and monitor all our high-risk infants who have been discharged from the NICU.
We have a 12-year-old child who's an orphan from Bhoi district, and he had multiple big stones in the kidney, and he had come to us before that with severe infection which has gone to urosepsis, and he was treated, and after few months we had conducted the successful keyhole surgery where we are able to remove all the stones. So instead of an open surgery, where if we do open surgery we won't be able to remove all the stones, maybe one or two that is nearby the operation site, but those stones that are quite deep inside the kidney we will not be removed. But by this procedure we are able to help all the patients. We are able to remove most of the stones, maybe 99%, sometimes 100% clearance of the stones. So all these procedures are helping the patients, and I hope in the near future we will be able to explore more avenues and add up some more procedures so that we can help the patients here instead of asking them to go till Guwahati and even far off areas.
Yes, the hospital is celebrating its 100 years of existence this year, and the journey thus far has been indeed filled with memorable moments. Going forward, the present management hopes to keep Dr. Roberts' legacy alive and continue in its stride to render selfless service to the people.
The way forward, as of now, we improve our treatment, we improve our wards like ICU, dialysis, then NICU, then maternity, then children's ward, and also we improve our OT, operation theater, and we are improving the male medical ward and female medical ward, and still we expect that we would be able to improve other wards also. And also in this century we would like to construct one century building which will be named as Hostel Annex.